So the new Dead by Daylight chapter is out, and I told you it would be an original chapter. I fucking told you. Yet you were still crying like,
You're wrong. This chapter will be a licensed chapter.
that's why you trust me. I told you that it's gonna be an original chapter. It means it's an original chapter. And when I'm telling you that my cock is 6.5 inches long, you better trust me. But let's talk about the new chapter. So the new chapter is awesome. This chapter really blows my expectations. However, the new killer is at the very least a disappointment. So what's wrong with this killer? Well, first of all, I would like to mention that not everything about this chapter is bad. In fact, I think that overall this chapter is fucking awesome. It's one of the better chapters. So let me tell you what is good about this chapter. First of all, we got a new map and I really like the way it looks. I haven't played enough to judge if it's good or bad, but it feels very overcrowded with stuff and way too small, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because if this map is as small as it feels, this might actually be the first killer-sided map, at least in my opinion, because this game is very survivor-sided. It would be very funny to see the map that is completely killer-sided. I don't know what the actual size of this map is. I'm just telling you that to me it feels like it's a small map, but I need to play more to tell you the truth. I really like palette placement on this map and some of the structures. The only thing that I don't really like is the colors of the objects on this map, and that this map feels very overcrowded with unnecessary stuff. Other than that, I don't really have anything negative to say about this map. It's a pretty decent map, and that's surprising because most of the new maps suck, and maybe I haven't played enough of it to tell you the truth, but most of the new maps you just load in and immediately you know, oh my god, this is gonna suck. I can't tell you the same about this map. The new survivor looks pretty good and unique. As a bisexual, I can say that if I was 40 years old right now, I would fuck with this dude. But that's not everything. Most of the new perks are pretty decent. Let me show you how good they are.
Okay, so the first perk is hubris. So basically, whenever you are stunned by a survivor, that survivor suffers from the exposed status effect for 20 seconds, which is not a long time, especially considering that you need to break the pallet, and it takes like, I don't know, 8 seconds or something. But this perk has a cooldown of 20 seconds, which is crazy. Every 20 seconds you can use this perk again and again. And imagine if you take Enduring and Spirit Fury. Spirit Fury plus Enduring plus Brutal Strength, and this perk, it's a deadly build. Like, you should just go for the stunts. Like, if Survivor stuns you, that's a blessing, literally. The second perk is Hex Face the Darkness, which is an okay perk. I mean, survivors will scream time to time, revealing their auras for 2 seconds when they are outside of your terror radius. But I mean, this perk is like one of the worst hex perks, I would say. It's still kind of cool. It's not the worst hex perk, and I still believe that it will be like used on some of the killers very frequently, but I don't see it as being a good perk. Maybe on the Doctor this perk is gonna shine more than on the others. And the last perk is Nowhere to Hide. So basically, when you damage a generator, you reveal the aura of all survivors standing within 24 meters of your position for 5 seconds. So this is very useful. The new survivor perks are pretty decent too. I mean, this one is meh, you know. I'm not even willing to read all of this bullshit, you know. I'm not a big reader, you know, and I mean, this perk looks just way too complicated for me to understand. But this perk is kind of good. You know, when you hit a great skill check while repairing a generator, it reveals the killer's aura to you for 6 seconds. Quick Gambit is the best survivor perk, I would say, out of this upcoming update. Basically, when you are being chased within 24 meters of any generator, any other survivors that are working on that generator will receive 8% speed boost to the repair action. And it's actually very, very useful, especially if those survivors have something like prove thyself with them.
So yeah, as you can see, this chapter has a lot of positive stuff, not to mention that we will get bots in custom games with the next chapter, which is amazing. But now let's talk about the disappointing part, which is the new killer. But before that, if you want me to come on your mom's titties, then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much. Okay, so now let's talk about the killer. For months now, it's been leaked that one of the upcoming killers is gonna be the Knight, and many of you expected this chapter to be a licensed For Honor chapter, which I stand by my opinion that For Honor would not fit Dead by Daylight, so I'm glad that this chapter is original. On the other hand, I got to be honest, I wasn't excited for this chapter, I really wanted something licensed. But the Night Killer as a concept is very cool. They could have surprised all of us. Imagine what if this killer had a horse, for example. What knight is a real knight without his horse? I mean, this killer could have been the first killer who has his own horse to ride. And after the iconic horse Maurice disappeared from the game, many people thought that this horse would come back to Dead by Daylight with this upcoming chapter. And maybe he would be a horse of the new killer. That's what I thought, at least. And no, this killer just walks on his feet just like any other killer. I mean, that's totally fine. Nobody promised us that the next killer would have a horse, but that's a missed opportunity. I mean, what knight is a real knight without his horse? But playing as this killer feels exactly like it feels to play as the Oni. I mean, these killers, it feels like they both have the same weapon. It feels like the knight has a recolored weapon skin of the Oni, which is disappointing. And the height of this killer is very similar to the Oni too, so when you play as the knight, it almost feels like you're playing as the Oni. So I think that if you play the Oni very well, you will do good at playing this killer. Honestly, even though I wasn't excited for this chapter at all, but I expected a little bit more uniqueness in this chapter. I mean, at least his power is very unique. He is the second killer in the game to utilize AI. The knight can spawn guards and they can damage generators for him, they can break pallets for him, even get into chases for him. It's very cool that if you see a pallet in front of you and if you are chasing a survivor, you can just spawn a guard, he will break the pallet for you, and you can continuously chase that survivor without stopping. So yeah, this killer does have some unique elements to him, especially in his power. He is a very unique powered killer, but I don't think that the power of this killer, the power of the knight, will age well. For example, I wasn't excited for Albert Wesker at all until I played him, and then I realized how good he was, and I was like, whoa, this power is gonna be very strong in a long run. But I don't feel the same about this killer. In fact, I feel like he is gonna be a mediocre killer at the very best. But I might be wrong, I might be completely wrong, don't quote me on that. Overall, it's an interesting chapter, a really good upcoming update for Dead by Daylight, which I'm not too excited about. So that's my thoughts, my personal thoughts. Comment what do you think about this chapter, do you agree or do you disagree? I accept everybody's opinions. Thank you for watching, please subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you later. Ciao!